Bueno, pues vamos a empezar esta ponencia con una persona experta, evidentemente, en lo que vamos a tratar, que es a roadmap for frictionless consumer journeys in a platform-centric world. Bueno, pues para hablar de esto vamos a tener con nosotros, y ya lo están viendo ustedes, a Seraj Bharwani. Seraj, welcome. Good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine, fine. Well, before this, some minutes ago, we were talking each other, and he said that maybe he's an American and me, I'm Swedish, you know, for the look, the good looking that we have. Well, it's a joke. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
It's a pleasure that you are here, and we are waiting, of course, and looking forward to hearing you all your presentation and all your discourse. So, whatever you want.
Thank you. Can I go?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Go. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very nice of you for the introduction, Sylvia.
Rather kind.
So, hello, everybody. Frankly, I would have loved to be in Madrid for this forum. It would have been a pleasure. I love the city. But the way things are, you know, we'll make it happen. I'm speaking from Boston today. And given what we are here to celebrate, it's some of the great work that the advertising industry has actually done, and how the whole scenario has unfolded over the past few months. Frankly, this year has been an amazing year, as you all know. It's been a very different kind of year. And the reason we are focused on the discussion of frictionless consumer journeys is so much has happened this year. Over the last few years, mega platforms have emerged and have scaled in a big way, and the virus has actually created very different behaviors, with people staying home a lot, becoming familiar with conducting, purchases and behaviors associated with that directly online. And so, given all of that, the idea of frictionless is all about making life easy for the consumer, making it effortless for the consumer to really conduct business directly with the brands, right? So with that as the background, let's go from where we have seen this whole idea of directly interacting and engaging the consumer and conducting commerce that started almost 10 years ago. These brands were built in the digital environment. They had no physical presence. They had to interact with the consumer directly. And given that, they mastered that in a very significant way. And there is so much to be learned from them. As you can see, a whole decade have gone by. Some of these brands, as you will see, have been very successful in stealing market share from major global brands over the last decade. Gillette there in particular lost almost 20 percentage points of share to Harry's and to Dollar Shave Club, which most of you know what ultimately happened, and I'm going to come to that. Many of these brands, big brands, really recognized that there were some amazing lessons to be learned. Look at what has really happened to them, right? Look at some of these brands. Pepsi in particular decided to launch its own direct-to-consumer brands and the platform to interact directly with the consumer and sell. P&G decided to buy a whole bunch of direct-to-consumer brands. Unilever bought Dollar Shave Club because it was successful in leading share in the male grooming category. Kellogg's bought RX Bar. Prudential bought another company. All of these are beginning to recognize that interacting directly with the consumers and doing business with them has amazing benefits. And so how should they really do that is a big lesson to be learned. In particular, as one would expect, Nike, of all the brands, has gained the most from going directly to the consumer. They just reported that this year they are running between 30 and 35% of their total revenue coming directly online from the consumers they do business with. That's amazing. That's breakthrough. Very few brands have actually gone this far in their ability to consolidate distribution online. Now, if you move to the business at hand, which is EU, look at Western Europe and the developing economies overall. There has been significant growth, somewhere in the, almost 500 billion, right, is where the amount of commerce, electronic commerce, is taking place in EU, and the growth rate is significant this year in particular for all the obvious reasons we know. You look at Spain, is just as progressive and developed an economy with $30+ billion in e-commerce sales coming in Spain, but the potential is huge. It's supposed to be one of the 5 big European markets. And so you can see the potential is significant in terms of the overall opportunity in Spain as well, in terms of being able to build out the capabilities for the brands in this area, right? Okay. So whenever there is a big opportunity, you are a sophisticated audience. I'm talking about you, the people who are listening right now. No big opportunity comes easy. There is always challenges. There's always going to be things that you have to address that are hard. And one of the biggest issues today is the consumer journeys are highly fragmented across many different touch points. It's a confused environment, but it's confused because the consumer wants choice and they want to be able to buy and interact and engage wherever they are. So if you boil it down and summarize it, you find there are 3 clusters of platforms and opportunities where so much of this money is going. First of all is the big marketplaces. And that starts with the big platforms like Amazon and Alibaba and others, JDs and so forth. If you look at Spain, it's El Corte Inglés and Alipay and others, who are actually quite strong within the Spanish market. Then there is the social platforms that are beginning to introduce a variety of different forms of social commerce. That's Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and others that you are familiar with. And then finally, there is the entire open web space of a whole range of premium publishers where consumers go to consume specialty content, and they want to be able to interact and get whatever they want from where they go, right? So this is how it all begins to evolve. Take a look at how these 3 are beginning to evolve, right? So with marketplaces, the customer loyalty is with the programs that these platforms have created. So for example, Amazon has created what is called Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has 150 million members who have already signed up for a subscription. They pay every month and every year on an ongoing basis to get products that they buy delivered to their homes. Sometimes it happens same-day delivery, sometimes overnight. It's an amazingly powerful environment that Amazon has created. The problem is that brands really don't get to build customer relationships. Amazon holds on to those relationships. Any of those other guys that are mentioned in there, even in the US where Walmart is big, Walmart holds on to its own relationships. When it comes to commerce, like through social commerce, generally most of the commerce is motivated by influencers or what is called key opinion leaders. The opportunity is to initiate the relationship. You're not really buying from Facebook. Facebook is making it easy for you to buy directly from the brand. So that's your opportunity there. And then when you go direct to consumer through your open web media, frankly, this is where you have the opportunity to build brand direct loyalty. This is when you can actually build a relationship, actually own the customer data, their contact with their permission, so that you can have a long-term affinity with them. So each of these opportunities comes with its own benefits and its own challenges. So let me lay out some of those things in terms of what those challenges are. First order businesses, the benefit of the marketplace is, in fact, they create this nice frictionless opportunity for you to buy. The Amazon one click is very popular, as you know, and get it delivered. It's amazing, and they have built a lot of traffic. The problem with marketplaces and the challenges that you have there is the competition is heavy. Lots of first-party players, and then there are tons and tons of third-party resellers who are competing directly with you. Your ROI is going to be challenging because the marketplaces charge you fees. There is going to be service fees. There's going to be promotions that you're going to be running. All of these are like rent. You pay for being available for your consumer to come and buy from you. And so those are some of the big challenges, and you do not get to have any data. None of the marketplaces will let you have any data at all. They own the customer. So that's a challenge you actually face. So while there's traffic is good, that you might be able to build a business there with some revenue and you give consumer the choice, but the challenge is you can't build a relationship directly. Look at some of these challenges. With Amazon, you have 8 million merchants and advertisers who are selling, but less than 1% of them are actually doing over $1 million a year. So you see how much competition there is. The other thing, the challenge that you have is the merchandising window is very small. It is shrinking from what you see in a retail space where you can see 200, 300 brands, products, SKUs on a shelf. As you look at the desktop or you look at the mobile screen, or then as you go into the audio, the Alexas and others that you can actually order directly from, your SKU space is shrinking significantly, and most of it has to do with, you can see as we go more contactless, there's going to be fewer and fewer opportunities in terms of what you can show to the consumer at the same time. So you are competing for the screen space, and that's a real challenge. Let's go to social commerce. And social commerce, obviously, they have all these shoppable media now available. You can see, you can be right inside a story. You can actually be right inside the space where you're looking at other content, and you can swipe and be led right into the product catalog. That's an amazingly powerful benefit. And then having the support of the influencers to really guide the consumer, you can absolutely drive a lot of initial contacts. But you can see what the challenges are going to be. Many of these challenges have to do with impulse buys, which is things that people might buy on the fly, and for that, what they're going to buy is probably nothing that is really very expensive. Most of this stuff will be in the $100, $200, 100 euro, 200 euros, maybe up to 300 or 400 euros. If you want to sell something significant, the only way to do that is to bring the consumer and build a relationship directly with them. And that's something that you have to think about, right? And that's a limitation that's what you can actually get out of social. And finally, now let's talk about the DTC, the open web performance marketing, right? And this is just an example I wanted to share with you of one of the clients that we have that can actually see how they can customize. The benefit of working directly through your own presence, which we refer to as DTC, is that you can customize the experience, you can manage the messaging, and you can control that messaging, create that custom experience, and be able to build a long-term relationship. So it's not just one transaction. You can go back to them sometime later and offer something new, something different. You can build a subscription base with them if it's a consumable item that people will be using every week, every month. The bigger challenges in the DTC space is there has never been a nice, seamless way to create the interaction from media into the DTC website or the mobile space or mobile apps that you create. The planning has always been distinct from the way the program is actually run. Many brands are actually running what they call programmatic media. Now, programmatic media is almost like a black box, and that's a real challenge in general, right? Take a look at how advertisers usually plan, whether it's advertiser planning internally or they work with the agency to plan the whole marketing. What really happens is planning gets done in a very systematic way. The entire consumer journey is mapped out. Where do the consumers go? What questions they need to be answered? What the barriers are? And how do you overcome those barriers? That's fascinating in the way due diligence is done, amazing research is done. But once that plan is actually executed, it goes into a black box. The execution is inside some programmatic platform, and the results that actually come out are equally arcane and confusing. All these line item results, individual tactic results, which is very hard to actually track where the consumers are, what stage in the journey they are in, which becomes really, really difficult. What advertisers want in repeated surveys we have done in Europe and elsewhere, or others have done, is they want control over the consumer journey. And that is what you need to be able to accomplish. What consumers really want is the journey the way they plan, and the way they want to execute is flawlessly in a frictionless way, even the way it gets executed so they can make sense of it. Where's the consumer now? After I show them one ad, where do they go? Do they take the action? Do they not take the action? What action did they take? And therefore, what's the next logical message I need to deliver? This is how the advertisers really want to see how their programs really run. This is an example of the work I referenced earlier with our company, a brand called Purple in North America, where we lay out the journey systematically for them. And then the algorithm determines what's the ideal next message to deliver. This is the power of the algorithm. This is what automation is about. We refer to this as advertising automation and how to deliver this, right? And this is how you can now control both reach, frequency, the ability to convert, and do it with amazing efficiency and a heavy ROI. And that's essentially what you can achieve with platforms like this. And this is something that what Acuity has actually launched literally this week, a platform called Illumine, which is referenced here, that allows you to do all of that, right? And at every stage of the journey, you can actually monitor how many people responded to the message, what was the cost of getting them to that message. All of those things have actually been systematically mapped out, so you can actually see in real time how people are progressing, and are they really progressing towards what you want them to do. That's called really frictionless journey, and to be able to accomplish that in a flawless way. Let me give you a quick example of a company called Boron that has it's based in France. It's a global brand, does business in Spain as well. has an amazing presence, has been around for over 100 years, 500 million users, lots of products, and they actually have a strong presence um, on Amazon and a variety of platforms. But look at their portfolio. They have a strong portfolio of products, a wide range of homeopathic medicines that they have available for a variety of ailments of one sort or the other. And it's something they believe is addressing at least 12 to 15 different types of common ailments that people have. Okay. So this is their presence on Amazon. It's a beautiful brand store that they built out. They run seasonal programs, as you can see, for cough and flu and cold medicines and things for which they have an equivalent homeopathic solution for consumers who prefer a natural alternative and don't want to subject to like heavy prescribed medicine. And so you can see here the way the products are actually laid out. People can go check it out and they can literally buy it through a single one-click experience and get it delivered to their homes if that's what they prefer. So Boron gives them that choice. But as you can imagine, education is a very important part of Boron's brand proposition. People who are not familiar with what natural medicines can do and how they can be applicable, they want to learn more about it. And the way you learn about it is what Boron does on their direct-to-consumer site. No different than what Nike is doing. Here, they have created what is called a Medicine Finder app. It's an amazingly beautiful app that they created, which is available on their website, which is available on their mobile app. You can go in there and specify what kind of an issue you have, what kind of a symptom you have. You click on that symptom, it will give you the choices of the medicine. It will provide you a lot of content around it. This is not the kind of stuff you can do on a marketplace. You cannot do stuff like this on social because people don't spend that much time. And so they can only afford to do that on a DTC site. And they bring a lot of people to their DTC site, get them educated, and then give them the choice to buy from anywhere they want to buy. They also go on social. This is a Snapchat, where they actually run seasonal promotions out there. And as social platforms are beginning to offer the shoppable media, you can actually swipe on these things and be able to get taken straight to their DTC product catalog. And from there, you can begin to do the searching and buy directly from there. So obviously, they cover the full spectrum of the things we talked about. So the question is, how does Boron justify their strategy on all three platforms? So take a look at that. Their strategy for frictionless journey to allow that kind of an e-commerce to happen is spread out across the three platforms. For marketplaces, the way they are actually looking at the marketplaces is really, this is the place where you go to defend your share of the market. You want to give the consumer the choice. For those who prefer to buy directly from Amazon or El Corte Inglés or any of those places, you want to give them the choice to buy from there. It's like paying rent. It's truly amazing what they actually do. And then this is essentially where you want to be able to have your brand presence, right? Without the presence, you're going to miss out on even the consumers who are very loyal to you. Social platforms, on the other hand, are really all about initiating the relationship. And you get a lot of reach there, and you can get influencer impact, but DTC is where you're going to build the ROI. That's where you're going to make the most margin. This is where you can sell the most premium products. This is where you can have long-term affinity and long-term relationships. And so you need to be able to get that, and that's what Boron does. The Boron manages all three in a way by giving consumer choice, but at the same time optimizing the results by getting the most reach, the most defense of being able to get the revenue through whatever rent is required for that, and driving significant ROI. This is their three-part strategy, which I think is relevant for many brands that operate in the marketplace today in Spain or in broader Western Europe, just like Boran does out of France. That's essentially the conclusion on this thing in terms of what we believe is highly relevant in the coming months and the coming years in Spain and broadly in Western Europe, in the ability to really control and influence the consumer journey, but also be extremely helpful and guide the consumer to your brand. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought your presentation was longer, but I'm here for making you some questions. Thank you very much for sharing with all of us your knowledge. And now it's time to open the question time. So if you feel like it, I'll start. Here it is, the first question. Is there a difference in the value that the channels can provide depending on the industry and price point of offerings?
Yes. That's a frequent question that we get from advertisers, because there's a huge spectrum of products that are actually sold in the marketplace through these types of e-commerce environments, right? There's the everyday products which are for, your supplements, your medicine, your food, and other things that people buy, which are in the sub, 100 euro category.
Okay.
And then there is the household products, which are your colchones, like mattresses and beddings and houseware and things you buy in the kitchen and whatnot, They range anywhere from up to 1,000 euros to, 2,000-3,000 euros, depending on what kind of a brand, which is a premium brand or otherwise you are selling. And people don't immediately buy high-priced items on the first exposure, right? It takes time. They have to think about it. Like, you're not going to immediately put down 500 euros for something. You're going to think, you might want to discuss that with your family or your spouse or what have you. And so it takes sometimes maybe a few days, few weeks before you make a commitment. And so the more higher priced and premium your brand is, the more you will gravitate towards your direct to consumer, your own platform, where you are going to build the relationship, build the communications over time, and get people comfortable with your brand so that they buy directly from you. If your product is an everyday consumable, marketplaces are ideal for that, frankly, and social platforms are ideal for fashion, beauty, and other related types of products, which very popular. People buy it because of influencers. Look at how many people buy, like look at L'Oreal. It's actually using the key opinion leaders and the beauty enthusiasts and so forth, who are actually so good at being able to get consumers excited about beauty products. And so each platform is unique in what kinds of verticals are uniquely suited for that by the prices and by who is able to better influence the user in getting them to really conduct the business, transact, and so forth.
Second question. Are there examples of brands that have been successful in DTC in Spain?
Yeah, the Spanish market has actually not immediately graduated to the e-commerce side of the business over the years, if you compare that across other very developed markets, right? But if you look at this particular year, given that consumers have had to stay home a lot, there has been significant amount of growth, and the brands are beginning to recognize that this is something very important and they need to do that, right? And I think one of the brands that comes to mind is a brand called Lo Monaco. Lo Monaco is an amazing brand with a full collection of housewares and furniture and mattresses and bed sheets and everything that they sell. And they have a very sophisticated, well-developed presence online. And their price points are obviously also very attractive, and they are able to get these products delivered. And so that's a good example to look at when you as a brand are beginning to think about what makes for a good experience, especially within the higher priced category.
Well, Mr. Bharwani.
Yes, you said it right.
Okay, it's just a pleasure. You were with us and telling us all these kind of interesting things to all the people that now are listening to you. So thank you very much and have a nice day.
Of course. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.